my dad sits in the garden. I can see him almost relax and smoke his pipe. Marley flies down to the garden gate, barking his head off because the postman wants to open the gate and deliver something. I can't really go and get him because of social distancing. "Just leave my post in the black box outside the gate," I shout at the postman. But he can't hear me because Marley won't stop barking. He throws it over my gate and Marley's quick to pick it up and fly round the garden with his trophy. "You got yourself a proper guard dog there," my dad says to me, and I nod and smile. The weather was fantastic for weeks, so I spent more and more time in the garden. "Lucky, very lucky," said my dad. "Think of all those people locked down in flats, not even a balcony. Must be driving them mad." I bought this house because of the garden. A Peter Rabbit garden, a friend once said. Bit too much for me to manage, to be honest, especially when I was working. But that was all on hold now, so I could do a bit, I thought. Dad said, "Yes, good idea. Clear that patch there and plant some vegetables, like we did in the war." The stone base of the old greenhouse was home to various self-seeded plants local to this area. Foxgloves, marjoram, lemon balm, evening primrose. Rewilded, I used to tell people who ventured down that far. "Yes, Dad, I'll clear it and plant some vegetables." So I sorted through some old gardening things that had been left untouched in the shed for years. And among them I found a couple of seed packets, spinach and salad leaves. It was on a shopping trip, masked up with gloves on, that I noticed the shop sold seeds. I went over, and although supplies were diminished, I was happy to grow anything. So I picked up peas, chard and aubergine seeds. "That's a bit odd," said my dad when I brought them home. "You'll be lucky if those aubergines grow. Far too cold over here for those." "Well, I didn't realise you were such a gardener, Dad," I said. "You should have brought them as plants." "You can't get plants at the moment, Dad," I told him. "Like toilet roll, flour and tonic water. You're lucky if they're available and you have to grab what's there." "Oh, that's like the war," he says. "Rationing." "You must have been young during the war," I say. He just murmurs. He's not going to reveal how old he was even now. "Shame about the tonic water," he says. "I know you like a gin and tonic." "Well, yes, but I've worked round it. I'm drinking it with elderflower cordial and soda water at the moment." "Do you think you drink too much?" he asks me. "Possibly I do. Someone told me Christmas Day rules applied to lockdown." I can hear him laughing and he lights his pipe. "Do you remember that picture I drew of you and Mum for Sunday school?" "Oh, yeah. How could I forget? Your mother was so embarrassed. Apart from the fact you drew us in bed together, I was smoking my pipe. Your mother made me take it down from the display in the main hall." I've created seed pods from newspaper, planted everything and set up a greenhouse in the living room. I weeded the vegetable patch and added what compost I had. I think I deserve a gin and tonic, so I sit on the bench for a rest. "It's a bit early for that," says my dad. "Oh, you're a fine one to talk," I say. "You never used to go to church in the morning, so you could go to the pub instead." "Never much of a one for God," he says. And I agree. I stroke the arm on the bench. "I remember when you did that," I say to him. "You were making a run for my guinea pig and you sawed through the wood into the arm of this bench." "Yeah, I remember your mother was quite cross," he says. "It was quite new." Do you remember the time when we were on holiday in Wales and we went to a farm to get some milk and you bought me a baby goat? I was so pleased. Yeah, but your mother made me take it back, he says. You could have one here in a garden this size. Well, I feel like I have one already. Someone bought me a goat for my birthday, I tell him. Although it was through Oxfam. And it is in Afghanistan. In the hot sunshine, I can see the damaged woodwork on the porch. Suppose I ought to do something about that. Of course you should, he says. Have you got wood filler? Well, I haven't. Only some external green paint, so I try online, but I can't get any. I'll tell him I'll just paint it for now and fill the gaps later. But when I get the ladder from the shed, he says, careful with that. The ground's not even. And I agree, so I leave that bit. The days merge together. And although I'm fairly sure it did rain at some point, it began to feel like a long, hot summer. How are you going to survive without money, he asked. I talked him through the mortgage holidays and credit card repayment freezes, but I said it will be hard. It's always a problem, money, he says. Your mother always complained that I spent too much money, too generous. In the end, she just used to give me pocket money so I couldn't. I remember, I tell him. That must have been quite humiliating. He doesn't answer. Then the months merged together. My seeds had grown. Were now netted and planted in the new vegetable patch. I wondered about picking some of the chard. Is it too small? I asked my dad. Don't really know. It was your grandfather who was the gardener. I think you have to keep picking stuff so that more grows, but I'm not really sure. I bravely pick a few leaves. When I return, the plants are enormous. The peas have pods growing, and the aubergine plants are flowering. I have to look up recipes for chard, and Dad says, do you remember when I had to cook because your mum had broken her leg? Yeah, you burnt the sausages, I say. And then you took me to the supermarket and we wandered around choosing all the things we liked. Cheese, cockles, gherkins, crisps and chocolate. I felt like I was on holiday. Mum wasn't happy though. She said there was nothing to make a meal from. She has a certain face, I told him. You know she had a stroke last year, don't you? I asked. And he said he did. She couldn't really speak very much for the first 24 hours, and you could see how angry she was in her eyes. It's June, apparently, and I'm at the stage when I don't really know what year it is. Lockdown starts easing, garden centres are open. Friends out for their daily walks stopped at my gate to talk to me, but I'm busy talking to Dad. Oh, you're painting your porch, one of them says. Just that bit at the top needs doing. I lie and tell him I haven't got a ladder. Nigel will drop one round, she says, and then there it is sometime later, on the path. Don't have any excuses now, Dad, I say. I'll walk past again at some point. You must be careful, he says. And when I take the first step up, I suddenly remember him hanging in the tree before he fell. You shouldn't have tried to rescue that cat, I say, and I'm beginning to cry. Your mother told me to. Janet was so upset about the bloody thing. It had been up there for hours and it wouldn't come down. Richard was supposed to be holding on to the bottom of the ladder, but he got distracted talking to someone and it fell away. You shouldn't have lost your father so young. I'm sorry, he says. I was looking for someone to blame. The cat for going up the tree, Janet for asking him to rescue it, Mum for persuading him to go up the tree, Richard for letting the ladder fall. but never him for doing it to keep the peace. Suddenly he's gone, and lockdown is over.